everything?
I speak to Michael. Yes.
Yeah. You need a second?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I apologize.
I give you 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Sure. You got called the pension board, but principal's office. All right, now you guys all set?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Let's start reporting. Excellent. Good evening. I'm gonna open.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, thanks.
Thank you, David. Good evening, and open the April 22nd Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're going to move directly into the continued public hearing for Heedy and Sons, 53 Taylor Avenue, 830G, for site plan review of 26 units. I am refused to this application, so Mike will take over.
Good evening, everybody. Continue public hearing. As Paul just said, Mr. Trinkhouse, if you'd like to.
Yes, thank you. Steve Prinkus for the record, professional engineer representing TD and Sons. Actually, the only reason I'm not present in your meeting is I forgot to take my allergy pill today, and my sinuses are not much fun right now. But I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. I don't see, hey, David, I don't see the where I can pull up my my PDF.
There should be an icon in a toolbar at the bottom of Google
Yeah.
Meet. It's a box with that arrow pointing up.
Yeah, yep, and that comes up, but oh, okay, all right, okay, I got it.
While you
Yep.
look at that, we're gonna just do a quick roll call of the commission members. Real
Okay.
quick. Go ahead. Start with you.
Kenny Parson, Commissioner. Jeff DeRosa, alternate.
Diane Ryan, Commissioner.
We have Paul Shanley, he's the chairman, refused right now. Mike Kozlowski, commissioner.
Sproul Drayton, Commissioner.
Online.
Bob Langman, Commissioner.
Thank you, Bob. And from staff here tonight.
Beth Cagden, Director.
Casey Galvez, Recording Secretary.
Dave McCollum, land use coordinator.
Thank you, David. All right, found your drawings.
Yeah, David, question, the screen's not bright and I can't scroll. Am I doing something wrong?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, the screen is kind of grayed out. I mean, I can see the PDF, but I can't, zoom in or move it around with my mouse at all. Should I
Okay,
stop sharing and reshare?
I assume you only have one monitor to work with, Steve?
I've got two, so,
Okay, so what I would suggest you do is you have the Google Meet browser on one monitor and your software that you're using to present on another. And we can see you're moving your cursor around, so it's not like we're having difficulty seeing what you're presenting. And we can see that you're panning around on your screen. Is that working for you now?
yeah, but it wasn't working when I was sharing it. Let me just
You
stop
are
sharing.
We,
Yeah, let me just see if I try it again and if it comes up this time. Yeah, it's just not, yeah, it's not working. Let me, I'm gonna move the Zoom over to my other screen. See if that makes a difference, but. Okay, yeah, I can see it moving now, but, okay, well, I guess I can, do this, I guess. So, but it looks gray on my screen. Do you guys see it clearly?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, fine, as long as you guys do it. So, after the last meeting, you know, when we had the consensus of modifying this to use, the duplex footprint that actually is going to be used on Reservoir, later, you know, we redesigned, you know, the unit configuration, you know, the driveway pretty much stayed the same. And, you know, basically each of the duplex units has a garage. So there's a space in the garage and one outside the garage. So that, you know, reduced surface parking. And basically, you know, we have two relatively shorter retaining walls than before. Most of these duplexes are located where we have the large outcrop of rock. So, you know, I don't have big slopes because I'm going to just bench out the rock. So there'd be one retaining wall over the, you know, the eastern two units, from the back of the 8 one-bedroom units. The wall would head to the north and then run parallel to the line and then come back into the grade of elevation 438. The two western units, again, they kind of get the first one's within the rock area, the second one's in the soil, which we're cutting down, and that pushes the driveway back to the west a little bit for the turning of the fire truck. So we have, again, a retaining wall there, and actually by kind of pushing this a little bit onto the steeper slope, it also allowed me to get rid of more material on the site than we previously had. We also provided, you know, a response to the police, fire marshal, and some of the neighbors' comments. Basically, the reduction in the net export of material from the site dropped down to 12,000 yards, which is about 706 trucks, give or take, you know, to get the excess material off the site. So by building the walls with rock and also filling behind them, I lose a lot more material on the site, which I don't have to take off. We did provide a turning movement plan, which I'll get to in a second, for the fire marshal. We had previously relocated the hydrant in the right-of-way, or near the right-of-way on Taylor Avenue, so it would be accessible to the fire department, you know, if there was a fire along Taylor Avenue and not just on our site. Regarding the police department, you know, we have adequate sight line in there, you know, which was clearly visible in the field. When we put in the sewer and water lines, you know, we're going to wind up pretty much digging up, you know, the entire section of Taylor Avenue from in front of Tim Draper's project up to our site. So, you know, once we're done moving the excavation material off site, at that time, you know, would be the time that we would repave the road after the heavy construction traffic is done, where basically all we're going to have is, you know, the construction traffic to, you know, build the units, i.e. a concrete truck, lumber truck, you know, but not, you know, a bunch of dump trucks going out. As I previously stated, Mr. Delorio is willing to work with Public Works to cut the ledge back at the corner on Taylor Avenue. A lot of that rock is within the right of way, so the right of way limit can get staked, and then at the direction of Public Utilities, cut that rock back at the corner as much as they would like it to be. So, a lot of the public comments, were about the safety of the road. I mean, when I lived in Reading years ago, many times I went down this road with my father. It's been in this condition, since the 60s. Our traffic study, it's a level of service A, and that'll remain, and that was true with the original plan, which was, the 26 one-bedroom units, and now we're down to 22. So obviously that's an improvement. I think removing the rock also will, improve that corner. Blasting, which was a concern of the neighbors, is under the jurisdiction of the fire marshal. In talking to Dave Ambrosia, who is the blaster, who's worked with the fire marshal many times, the maximum distance generally is 250 foot that they do pre-blast surveys on. If a homeowner is outside of that and would like one done, we're very happy to do that, prior to blasting. But as I pointed out last time, blasting today is, not blowing the rock up with mats on it where everything pops 10 feet up in the air. They drill a lot of holes on relatively close spacing, and the charges are set off on, microsecond delays where basically they're smaller charges and it cracks the rock in place. And then you simply excavate it out. So, there's not the big sonic boom and the vibrations that blasting back in the 60s, occurred. I remember where I lived in Reading, a house was being built probably a quarter mile from my parents' house, and they loaded up the holes and blasted it, and we felt it, in our living room. It's not done that way. The rock is basically cracked in place. As Attorney Marcus pointed out, who won't be with us for a while, air quality is again governed by DEP regulations, and the blaster is well aware of that, as Mr. Delorio is. With the site being, predominantly sand and gravel soils, where the rock is not, that is not a material that is prone to becoming dustborne. Silt and clay tend to be, more dustborne because they're fine particles and they go up in the air very easily. But again, that's all regulated under DEP, and the way you control the dust is you water the site as needed, if it's in a real dry, period of time. So I want to just go down to the turning movement plan so I can show the commission that aspect of it. So this is, an aerial fire truck, coming into the site, coming all the way out to the western end, pulling into this pull-off area, backing up, and then pulling right back out. So the aerial truck easily, traverses the site. Obviously the aerial truck is bigger than a garbage truck, so a garbage truck, would come in with the dumpster being here, pull up this way going west, and then with a rear loaded one, basically back up, they'd wheel the dumpster out, dump it in the truck, and then he'd make a turn to come back out. And from a drainage standpoint, I didn't have to revise the stormwater management report. The actual impervious cover got slightly less, so we kept the design as is, which is, conservative, especially with the real well-drained soils on the site. And, so I'd be happy to answer any questions, but, that's, we got all the changes made that we discussed at the last meeting.
So, Mr. Trinkus?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll open up for comments from the public. Please come forward. Take your name and address for the record.
Sylvia Cutchman, 58 Taylor Avenue. I actually would like to ask if you can read a letter that was sent to you today by Annie Bardwick that a few of us signed under.
I'm not, I wasn't in the office this afternoon, so I don't know if I was there. David? In regards, there was a,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of a letter that was submitted this afternoon. What email address did you send it to, ma'am?
To the it wasn't to me to send it, it's to the regular land,
that went to land use.
yes.
Okay, if we had received a letter, we would have hard copies printed out for the commission tonight. I don't want to say that it hasn't gone through, but we will make sure to incorporate it into the record if we're not able to find it during tonight's meeting.
And so while you're looking for that, I still didn't hear the number of trucks that we've been asking for on 3 meetings now.
It's Steve Trinkus for the record, if I can answer that. Because of the change in grading on the site, there'll be roughly 706 truck trips to remove the excess material from this site, which is less than the original. The original proposal was about 16,000 yards. That's been reduced by 4,000 yards. So it's significantly less number of truck trips.
Which is still significantly too much.
It's not occurring in a day or in a week. It's going to be, some days there's not going to be any. Other days they will be taking material off. It's standard, with any construction project.
Yes, understood. Any other comments tonight?
Well,
Question.
the letter pretty much sums up everything that we've been asking for the past 3 meetings.
Apologies, we do not have that in hand right now. The hearing will be continued. Again, so we will make sure that we do read that into the public record as soon as you have that in hand.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that is it pretty much.
Anyone else here from the public like to speak, ask questions? Please come up. Name.
Tim Draper, 48 at Maddie's Lane West. You're going to continue it, so you're not going to answer any questions from previous meetings?
Well, we do have your questions here. I don't believe that we have answers from those questions yet.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else here from the public in person have any questions about this hearing?
So the surveys and everything that we talked about, there's still no answer included.
We do not have that in hand yet, but we will push for that answer for you. Also, we did let Beth speak to staff report here. Or about, I'm sorry, is there anyone online that has a question? Thank you.
There was a Mr. Haslob that has his hand raised, Mr.
Okay, Mr. Haslam, would you like to please come forward, state your name and record and address for the record?
Sure thing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. This is Jason Haslab at 52 Taylor Ave. The one question I have for right now is, you showed the fire truck, the aerial truck coming in from down the road, from the Nashville portion of the road. I don't know that the truck can make the turn at the top of Nashville and Taylor to actually come down the road. They would have to go past the road, turn around somewhere up the road and come back down to approach from that angle. I think the truck would have to coming up from South Street where the fire department is. Does the truck also make the turn in from that angle, or is it only strictly from the top side from the corner of Nashville and Taylor?
It actually would work the other way, but coming up, and I can, if we're going to continue the hearing, I can draw that one too. But we have a very wide driveway here, and that was one of the main reasons we did that. But I have actually been on the road, and it wasn't an aerial truck, but it was a pumper truck that I was going south on Taylor Avenue, and it was coming north on Taylor Avenue. So the pumper truck made the turn from Nashville onto Taylor Avenue. I mean, I passed the truck, so I don't, so obviously he can make the turn.
Mr. Trinket, if you could show that for the next meeting, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I'll be happy to show that, sure.
Please.
Scott Murphy, Reservoir Street. I'm a retired fire chief, and I've driven the aerial truck that he's talking about. it will not make the turn from Taylor or from Nashville on the Taylor, not without backing up and creating a traffic issue if it's during the day. It will actually have to come in from South Street, and the way that driveway is, it would have to back in. That truck's 43 feet long.
Thank you. Anyone else online have any questions or comments for this application? Seeing none, we'll go to commission here. Kenny?
I brought up at the last meeting about possible bonds for well damage. I'd like to see if we can explore that.
Well, I mean, you know, again, from a blasting point of view, those regulations are all, you know, under this fire marshal of the town of Bethel. And the pre-blast survey, according to Dave Ambrosia, is 250 feet from the site of the blasting. And the purpose of doing that is to have a baseline of it. And again, you know, it's possible to blast and not shake anything. I had a site in Woodbury years ago where the neighbor, to try and prevent a road from being extended, put his well literally 2 feet off the edge of the property line. And we had to, you know, blast rock, and we didn't even shake his well. So, you know,
We understand. We've heard that story before. Can you, for the next meeting as well, please make sure that you have, I think everyone here would like to know what that 250-foot radius looks like. I don't believe I've seen a drawing that shows that.
okay, yeah, I can show a line around the rock.
Appreciate it. And I think I'd even extend it out a little bit, because you did refer to saying if anyone does feel like they need that, you'd be more than happy to have a pre-blast survey of those. So I don't know what that is.
Within reason, we're not going 600-700 feet from the site. That's way beyond the regulations, you know, but if somebody's 300 feet, yes, you know, that's reasonable. But, you know, if 250 is a standard that can be enforced by your fire marshal, that's the standard.
Mr. Triggas, is that 250 feet? Is that state regulation that you're referring to with the fire marshal?
Or I can confirm that with Dave Ambrosia. Yeah.
Do.
We can confirm with Tom.
Anything else, Kenny?
That's it.
All right, Jeff?
It's an interesting point that the public brings up about the access with the fire trucks. You know, that's a serious safety issue. So I definitely want to have, we should definitely be confident that the trucks can access it. So, Mr. Trickus, if you bring your analysis that shows maybe you have to go all the way up to Taylor to show that you can or cannot make that turn.
Well, it's coming, you know, whether the fire truck can come around the corner at Taylor is, you know, quite honestly, that's a town of Bethel issue. But turning in this way, we can look at that. You know, I think as the other individual said, you know, it would, you know, potentially have to back in. Well, you know, in my neighborhood, we have a lot of rear lots, and that's exactly what the fire department does. They back their trucks down these common driveways. So again, whether it goes in forward or backwards, you know, it can access the site, and we'll show that.
As long as you, is my question. I don't, coming from South Street on Taylor, how wide is the entrance to the driveway?
Our driveway, it's over 30 feet. It's substantially wider.
Because it's hard to judge it from a drawing, what's on the sides. The best bet for the fire department will be pass and back up that driveway as long as they have access to it. That's fine. But I do know for a fact that someone who's driven that truck, it's about 16 feet longer than an engine, and it's also a dual rear axle truck, and they don't turn the same. So to go from Nashville on to Taylor is not going to happen without having to make a 4 or 5 point turn.
Mr. Murphy, could you state for the record, who you are, your
Scott
affiliation,
Murphy, Reservoir Street, retired chief, Bethel Fire Department.
and how long were you fire chief?
5 years.
Thank you.
How long were you in the department though?
No, I
Way
just,
too long.
I just wanted you to state your experience in regards to this.
Because we
Um,
actually had a fire just past that intersection and it was kind of difficult to get everything situated for that one structure fire, which was actually on Nashville. It's a weird intersection there with Nashville and the extension and Taylor and Nashville and everything, so.
my suggestion to you is that if you, have concerns of that nature, that you speak with the fire marshal.
Yeah.
Tom Galliford, Tom Galliford is the one that reviews the plans and
Yeah.
makes recommendations to the board.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jeff, any other?
No, no other comments.
Diane?
I had brought up several different meetings about addressing the health department's letter. And I still don't see any direct response to that. And garbage situation, I guess that's just something we're not dealing with anymore. I don't see.
Well, I will be happy to address it. The reason I did not comment on it is I have commented ad nauseum, quite honestly, on prior applications. Ms. Vasile and the health department can only enforce what is in the public health code of the state of Connecticut. There is absolutely nothing in the public health code about dumpster pads, period. And I have confirmed with Matt Paulick from the state health department, who oversees all the sanitarians with one other guy in the whole state of Connecticut. And Matt confirms that there is no jurisdiction for a sanitarian over the size of a dumpster pad. In talking to garbage companies, they rather have a smaller one where the recycling and the garbage fits snugly into the pad area. When you do a bigger pad, what they have found is people don't throw the garbage in the dumpster, they put it next to the dumpster. And that clearly is an issue, because
Even
now
if the driveway opening is 30 feet wide, that is significantly.
Excuse me, please wait. Thank you.
My apologies, I thought I was muted.
Space on the pad, people are basically lazy, according to the garbage guys, and they put the bag on the ground, which clearly then it's accessible to animals, especially if somebody doesn't close the fence. But the size of the dumpster pad is not under Laura's jurisdiction in
Mr.
any shape or form.
We understand, we position there.
We've heard that, but my question is, are you planning on having each of these people have their own garbage cans?
No, this has a dumpster. This has a dumpster right up here in the corner.
Can you show us where that is?
My cursor is over it. Let me zoom in right here. That square, you can see. That's the dumpster pad. That's a 10 by 10 pad.
Okay.
So that's where it is. So the garbage truck would come in the driveway, back up, they'd roll the dumpster out, he would dump it, they load it into the back of the garbage truck, roll the dumpster back, and they leave.
Is the screening, you have screening around it? What's,
Got a white vinyl fence and gate around it. Yep.
okay. And then the other question was, I had asked whether you had contacted Vanderbilt Chemical at all, since they have.
We're not anywhere near their facility. And then 250 feet from the ledge rock on here actually stays within, the applicant's own property. So it doesn't even reach down towards Vanderbilt.
You're gonna check on that 250 feet for us, right?
Yep.
Anything else, Diane? Speaking of the blasting, I know we've gone back and forth and people have asked about geotechnical reports. And I know in your stated position, you don't have to reiterate, is that that is not required because geotechnical reports are usually for commercial buildings and their foundation and structural analysis. I'm wondering if Dave Ambrosia, who's your blasting subcontractor that you keep stating, how did he calculate his blasting plan? Did he have a boring report that he did on his own? What was the information that he had to create that report?
He had a copy of my site plan, showing the ledge, and basically his blasting plan is similar to ones he's used elsewhere. I'd hate to say it's kind of a copy paste, but whether the rock is here or somewhere else, how you get rid of it is pretty much the same. You're looking to crack the rock in place and then dig it out with the excavator. That's just the easier way to do it.
Understood. Yeah, it's been my experience. I went back and asked some people that I work with, and we do usually have a geotechnical report that we refer to so that they can understand the composition of the rock. I understand it's your position that you don't need that, but I'm still going to highly suggest that.
I'll be honest with you, we're not going to provide one because it's unnecessary. Dave has visited the site. He has seen the rock. He's the blaster. He does this for a living. So he knows how, to remove it. The type of rock, it's pretty hard. It's not well fractured as is. But again, a geotech report, you could do borings in the rock, and what's that going to tell you? That it's all rock. It may tell you it's granite, it's not marble, but that's all it's going to tell you, and it's not going to affect how he blasts it out of the way.
Did they also physical on?
For what? At the curve? I think they were going to handle that away. Okay. Cool. Any questions? Comments?
Same comments and questions from last time, which refer to the blasting and the potential impact to two aspects of the neighbors. Number one, their foundations, and number two, their wells. And our request at the time to have some form of a bond to limit their liability.
I think that's a question for the fire marshal, because I think he would have to determine if a bond is appropriate or not.
Steve, just for the record, Dale Marcus, on that issue, the blasting bond, I don't think it's a question for the fire marshal. I think it's a question for the town attorney, because the Planning and Zoning Commission has limited rights to set bonds under the state statute. And by the way, years ago, Planning and Zoning Commission used to set bonds for anything that they thought they wanted to, and the state cracked down. I mean, they really did. And they said you can bond site work, and that's about it. Now, if it's a subdivision road, obviously, separate statute says you can bond that. But this issue of bonding for blasting, and I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good idea, but you ought to find out from the town council whether you have the ability to do that, because quite honestly, I don't think you do. Whether the fire marshal can do it, that may be different on the blasting permit. So I'd run it by Chuck or whoever, see what he thinks about setting those bonds.
Thank you, Mr. Rice.
And by the way, while I'm on a quick roll here, on the intersections of the roads and their ability to handle fire trucks, I mean, I got to tell you, that's not a problem just here in Bethel. You get to the more rural areas, you go out to Reading, there are a lot of roads that trucks make the intersections without additional movements. That's not this applicant's responsibility, quite honestly. As to the accessibility of the driveway on Taylor Avenue, or Taylor Avenue, excuse me, to accommodate the turns of the vehicles, that's our responsibility as the applicant. But if your roads are not, if your intersections need to be reworked, I mean, you got people living up there now whose basically safety is threatened if you can't really get a fire truck. Obviously, you can get a smaller fire truck up. But on this thing here, it's an interesting discussion. But again, I've met from that by town council and say, is this applicant responsible for improving intersections of the town roads to accommodate fire trucks that are already in the town? I mean, and so
Well, it's an interesting point you make, though, Neil. You said smaller engine trucks can make it there, and there's generally smaller buildings on that street. Are we having to get a ladder truck on this side because buildings on this side are bigger?
Well, they're not that high. I mean, they're basically residential buildings, but you're absolutely right. I mean, we get into,
maybe
we get into 8-30G in some towns where you want to build a 6 or 7 story high rise, and there's no firefighting equipment that can even handle that. And what's even worse, you have a volunteer fire department that's not trained to fight fires in the 6-story buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeff, you're absolutely correct. But this is an interesting discussion that I think you gotta run by your counsel, because if he feels that you have jurisdiction, we'll or whatever the reasonable requirements are, but I'm not sure you do. So,
Are you talking about performance bonds with blasting?
yeah, of that about it, and also requiring roadway improvements for fire trucks.
When it's staff's turn, maybe I can answer.
Yes. that's
Right.
it.
Michael,
So like, now go ahead.
you basically would have the same problem getting that fire truck to come in from Nashville Road if you were going to Draper's Building down the hill. If for some reason the other end of Taylor Road was blocked and you had to come in from the top, you would have the same problem making that turn that you're gonna have with the new building. Any idea of how many, I know you can't pinpoint it, Steve, to the exact number of days of the removing rock from the site, but could you, being you're down to what, 700? truckloads,
700 trips, give or take, yeah.
that could be 10 to 12 trips a day or more than that.
Yeah, it would depend, quite honestly, where the material is going. If, I mean, the sand and gravel on the site would likely go up to Payne Road, where T&D Sons has their, commercial operation, to screen the gravel for septic fill. That would be a short haul, so you'd probably see, more truck trips that day. But if the rock was, going somewhere else, it could be 4 or 5 if it's a long distance away.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Legner. Staff comments?
I'll start with, Diane was making reference to the notification of Vanderbilt Chemical. And we do have a survey in the file dated May 21st, 2024, that shows that Vanderbilt Chemical is a direct adjacent to this property. So they're not with whatever Steven said before, as far as being away from it or whatever. It's a direct attachment. And I assume that they were sent notification of the hearing.
Yes, they were, Beth. They were. Let me just.
Well, that's all I want to make clear.
Yeah.
They were sent, right? So
Yeah.
Vanderbilt received the letter, you sent the letter out, and they received notice, correct?
Correct. And, just going to the title page, yes, Vanderbilt does abut, the westernmost property line, way down here. So,
The survey shows it. Okay. All right. I'm just going to briefly try to put a few little things to bed before you continue on. In discussing the idea of doing a performance bond in relation to this project for the blasting, I've been doing this for a long time too, and I've never heard of that happening. But what I do see is when you do blasting, you have to remember there has to be encouragement for pre-blast surveys. Why do they do pre-blast surveys? For insurance purposes. So if damages occur within someone's house, there's recourse. Those are all handled through the fire marshal's office. There's also a notification that a blaster sends to whoever you decide should have the pre-blast survey in conjunction with speaking to the fire marshal. So if you determine that you would like everyone within 200, whatever Steve prepares for you, if you want it done within that certain amount of footage, you would recommend to the fire marshal that the pre-blast survey be conducted within 300 feet or 400 feet, whatever. It's incumbent about the residents. So they will notify the residents, and the residents, he will have paperwork involved saying the resident refused or the resident said yes, they want a pre-blast survey for their foundations. The other discussion you've had in regards to this is with wells. Again, you cannot do a performance bond on wells. What you can require as part of a condition of approval is that you do well testing prior to and do a maintenance program or a pre-test program, say in 3 years, test the well again after the project is completed. Things of that nature is what I've seen done and what you can do, if that's helpful to the commission to understand. As far as roadways and improvements to roadways, those with more experience than some of the new members with affordable housing and 830P applications, I agree. Mr. Marcus is right. it's incumbent upon the town to make improvements. Because it's a town road. It's not a private road, it's a town road. As far as excavation and fill, 700 road trucks, all I'm gonna ask you guys is to keep in mind, and the applicant himself, I have spoken to the property owner very sternly in regards to this. You govern the hours of operation for excavation and fill. So if you feel, based on some of the comments that have been made by the property owners in the neighborhood, that they should be very confined as to what those hours should be. For example, when school is in session, blasting, excavation and fill, whatever. You know, you do have other options in dealing with blasting, excavation and fill if you're not familiar with the routes. No weekends, no holidays, things of that nature. I'm just doing this to help you understand a little bit better, so you know that there are a few other options, not many, but there are a few ways that you can help with protection of the neighborhood. That's all. I think that's all I have to say at this point. So I don't feel that there's a need to contact council at this point. And as far as performance bonds, the state statutes changed several years ago, and it was a major change, and it is what it is.
And we don't have any engineering reports yet for this project.
No, we did have one, I believe, but the changes came in.
I saw it came in.
The revisions came in on Friday. I've spoken to Todd Ritchie, even though it won't be available. We should have something by the 2nd. The other thing I just want to mention too, since I have the floor, is that we have talked to council, and I have talked to, I believe it was you, Michael, as chair. Do you have the option, because it is an 830G application, to continue the hearing for 2 weeks, even though it doesn't meet the statutory guidelines for site plan. And we both are in agreement to continue, and it's up to the board to agree to an extension to our next meeting, if you so desire. I think that covers this application for me.
I think I'd like to see a report from the town engineering report. For that reason, I definitely am in favor of
May 2nd.
extending it.
Again,
If I may, Steve Trinkus, we fully responded to Todd's initial report, which was focused on, mostly drainage, and all of his comments were addressed in that. And as there has been no change in drainage, and also the proposed retaining wall has been pulled back from the property line, I'm happy to, look at his comments, but all the major comments were addressed previously, which have remained unchanged at this point.
Understood. All right. I don't, we don't go back. That's it. All right, so this hearing will be continued until the next scheduled meeting on May 13th. Sorry?
go ahead. No, someone from the public had their hand raised.
Oh, I apologize. Please.
I just wanted to ask again if there's any, last meeting and previously we were told that there's a long list from the police report. Did any of those concerns were answered?
Mr. Trinket did respond to some of those, and one of them being the trucks that were, trips that were being calculated. I think he spoke about those today. I have to go back and just verify that everything else has been responded to. Thank you. So May 13th, this hearing will be continued May 13th here at the Bethel Municipal Center at our next meeting at 7 p.m.
And note the extension,
And we are,
note the.
I'll send you.
You'll do your thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you. Mr. Attorney Marcus will be sending the department a letter of extension.
I just want the record to reflect, I've tried to create additional work for the town attorney, and Beth is giving me a hard time.
You guys stick together. All right, on to our regular scheduled meeting here.
You. We will move on to Mr. David Robert from Mara Ortiz. re-subdivision for 117 Chestnut Ridge Road.
David is taking this one, not me.
Dave, do you have public notice to read into the record?
Yeah, it should be in the, it should be in the file for there should be a hard copy in the file there.
Thank you.
I don't see anything. Did we open it the last one?
This is not a continuation. Oh, yeah, it is.
We did read it. We already read
I
it
got
in
it.
the record last meeting.
Oh, you read it? into
This
the
is a
record last meeting?
continuation.
It's a continuation. Okay,
Anyway,
there you go.
please, floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Scott McCoskey, I'm a professional engineer with Daimler, representing the Marquesas on the three subdivision applications. This had previously come before, the board about 4 years ago, where we had an agreement between the Ortizes and a neighbor to do a driveway on this side of the property. Since then, that agreement has fallen through. So we recalculated this plan for the alternate driveway connection to Chestnut Ridge Road from this point with a crossing for over the brook and then swinging around in an S curve to the proposed house located in the rear of the property on lot number 2. We've also received since then, since this application was done, several letters of reviews. I've got the response letter for SLR here tonight, and I'd like to distribute this to everybody. Or do I have to get this to you?
No, you did.
Oh. No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And I also brought in 4 sets of plans that we revised for it.
Thank you.
So to go through this letter, first, let's go through the letter. So the sightlines have been added to the drawings for the north and south of this. We've looked at this in the field. We've got about 600 feet of clear sightline to the south, being to the north, and then about 800 feet to the south for clearance. We are going to recommend that any vegetation or any obstructions between the curbing and our new property line here is going to be cleared out for this application. That takes care of lots 1 and 2 from those comments. We have added to the erosion control details, the stabilization for the steeper slopes in the back at 2-to-1 sloping. That's on our erosion control sheets. I'm sure Jordan's got those in the details. We have also added a curbing and relocated yard drains behind the curbing to collect more of the water coming down off of this lot 2 and directing it to the rain garden here located in the front of the lot, which will eventually discharge down to the brook here. We've added a drainage swale to the bottom of this slope with an under drain on that. Here's a revised sheet for that. Here's the under drain, so it's going to be about 3.5 feet down. It's stoned to the top with a 6-inch perforated pipe at the bottom and wrapped with geotextile fabric to prevent any silts coming in. Now we did take a look at there was a comment about the town's fire apparatus to be able to maneuver in this lot. I did get another letter of comment from the fire marshal saying that he had no comments about this particular lot, but we decided to address the ones from SLR. I have added a fire truck, an aerial ladder truck coming in from the north, swinging into the lot, and then reinforcing this curve and the front entrance curve with additional stone to make up for the trucks passing over it. It's typically very difficult to have a truck that big go onto a 12-foot wide driveway. So we decided to add more stone for reinforcement. We've also added an 8x25 pull off in about the middle of the length of run here at this tangent, with grading to account for that. For any truck coming down, somebody's got room to pull off and let the truck pass by. Now they did say they also know they want to see a SU-30 delivery truck, but considering that the aerial truck is much bigger, I think we can show it. We can give you a new sheet and provide for that. But we think that's, if y'all can make this pass, that should be no problem to pass that one. We have no objections to his comments here on the proposed retaining design for the wall. We have no comments, no objections to me providing anything for the town department to review and approve. And any blasting for ledge removal is subject to the town building department and fire marshal department. So we have no objections to that either, with complying for anything they want to do for that. We are relocating. There is on this property a drainage swale that was constructed for the neighbor to the north. Due to our fill in this section for the new driveway, we're relocating that swale down to the toe of our slope. And we're going to grass it for him, and he can still maintain use of it to drain his property down to the brook as well. We're going to add an additional detail for that one at this time. Now, at the previous application for this, we had a cyclone for the grit removal for the property when the driveway was down here. Under this new application, we've substituted in a HydroWorks HDS3 for grit removal before the final discharge to the brook. And we've added a detail for that as well. That was already in the package. We just simply did not have it called out as such. And I've added that call out for them to see that. And that's also part of our drainage report as well. The last comment, number 13, I've added as part of the attachment to this package, where we developed the flows for the 1,500-year storm under table 3A. Prior to this application, we had only done up to the 25-year storm, so this should satisfy this. There was never any pre and post on this. I don't know what they were thinking. All of our pre and post development is what the rain garden's handling right now. Well, we didn't see the need for trying to do a pre and post for about nearly 200 acres flowing down into this point at this time. Unless somebody's got something major to do upstream of us, but at that point, that's not our concern. That's all taking care of all the notes for review comments, and we did get one from the Bethel Health Department, and they had no objections as long as we do anything according to the construction documents, which we will prepare after the approval of the subdivision, of the re-subdivision. So. And I'll entertain any questions or anything else.
I'll open up to the public first. Any public questions or comments? No? Anyone online? David, you see anybody?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Kenny, got anything?
No, I'm all set.
No comments.
Bethel Health Department talks about, private wells and plastic rock and all that kind of thing, like we have with the other. Did you address that with them? That's number 2. I think.
That's, their comments seem to us not a planning design standpoint, but more of a construction standpoint. At the time of construction, to follow certain regulations, including blasting and the removal of ledge.
And they will be applying for a well permit.
Right.
Through the health department.
Nope, just thank you for addressing all the comments you've had here.
Scroll?
No.
I guess, my only question is is there an existing bridge or culvert there at the river now, or the
There-
brook?
There is one right now
Yes.
servicing the front lot, number 1 right here.
Okay, so that your new driveway gets a new one.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm just looking at the plan. That's a
It's
44. Am I reading that right?
47 by
47,
71.
okay.
It's basically 4 feet high, about
Just corrugated
Almost 6 feet,
pipe,
yeah.
basically. That was one other question.
I'd say one's wetlands too, right? Are we waiting for them?
No.
I can address that in my comments, Diane.
Go ahead, David.
Okay, I'll do my best to be brief because there's a lot on the agenda tonight. Context for commissioners that were with us when you previously reviewed a subdivision application for these properties. The biggest differences as far as what was proposed then versus what is proposed now. One of the commissioners alluded to it. There is a new crossing that is proposed. There has been an application submitted to the Inland Wetlands Commission for Regulated Activities. They are looking to wrap up their review of this application during their next regular meeting, which is next Monday, April 28th. What's outstanding for them, or what was outstanding for them following that meeting, was a re-review of the stormwater management system calculations as our standards for stormwater management system design increased to a 100-year storm. Since both commissions last saw their subdivision applications, we just got comments from the town's engineering consultant SLR last week. Mr. Lukowski, the plans that he's presenting to you tonight, which we just received today, reflect some of those response comments to Mr. Ritchie. We will forward those to him tomorrow to confirm that everything is substantially addressed as it should be. The stormwater management calculations aside, the only other big change is that there's no access easement involved anymore, as the newly subdivided lot would have its own driveway to service the new structure. So they're not going to be using the existing driveway, and they don't have to wrap around the existing house going from the other way, i.e. the south, to get to the rear of the lot anymore. Otherwise, the subdivision application is pretty much substantively the same in terms of the lot configurations. There was a slight tweak to the area of steep slopes between the two, but I'm not going to, there's not that big a deal with respect to 1,500 square feet, plus or minus difference of the steep slopes. Otherwise, like I said, everything's pretty much the same. The reason why this is coming before you tonight, in light of how minor these changes are, aside from the crossing, is because the applicant didn't follow through with getting their Mylar filed in the clerk's office in the statutory time period that they had to pursuant to their last approval. So, that's why they're here before you tonight. The crossing notwithstanding, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have for me.
Thank you, David. Mr. Legnard, sorry, I forgot to call you out. Did you have any questions or comments?
No, we're good with that.
Excellent. Beth, did you have anything to add?
I think that based on the information you've received this evening and the anticipation of, review from SLR, you can close this hearing.
Okay.
Be tactical in nature.
Make a motion to close 117 Chestnut Ridge Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to move on to a new public hearing for 1 Knollwood Drive LLC, 830G, site plan 72 Reservoir Road. Again, I am accused of that.
Resuscitated. That's good.
Oh, you want to call, Neil in?
Well, I'm also here, Beth, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Mr.
Steve.
Trinkus, I believe, are you starting the application here, or are we waiting for?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Okay, please, floor is yours.
Wait, do we have is there a notice that needs to be read into the record?
There sure is.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Can I read it?
I'll read it.
That's gonna read it.
Okay, so to appear April 11th and 18th, public notice, Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on April 22nd, 2025, meeting room D, Municipal Center, 1 School Street, Bethel, Connecticut, at 7 p.m. to hear the following. 1 Knollwood Drive LLC for property located at 72 Reservoir Road for 2-bedroom units, for 6 2-bedroom units, 830G, and site plan. Property can be found in the assessor's records as map 8, block 23, and lot 3. Link to review the materials can be found on the town website. Public may send comments via regular mail and email to land use. Parking for hearing is located in the rear of the building. Dated, whatever. Michael Kozlowski, secretary.
Hey, great. Mr. Trinkus?
Yes, good evening. Steve Trinkus again, professional engineer, representing D3 Realty. We're going to share the screen again. This site actually previously was divided into 2 lots, by this commission. This property is located west of Knollwood Drive and south of Reservoir Street. The approved layout had a access way running along the property line, parallel more or less to Knollwood, to a lot kind of up on the top of the hill, and then one on this front slope area. We looked at various scenarios of developing it, on each lot, and quite honestly, with the grades and the shallow rock that's out here, it really wasn't feasible. After multiple layouts and my client meeting with Beth on numerous occasions, we came up with this particular layout, which is the same footprint that you just saw on Taylor Avenue, but these were also built directly on the east side. 2 of them were built on the east side of Knollwood, opposite this site. So the right-of-way line, and this is kind of unusual, the edge of pavement is here where my cursor is. Their actual property line is way back here, which is much farther back than most right-of-way lines along roads. So again, we have the 3 2-bedroom units. Basically similar to across the street. Driveways just come in, wide driveways right out to the edge of the road to each of them. The units are stepped, as we go up the hill, and then there will be again, another rock cut here to basically kind of make a mild slope where these units will go. There's sanitary sewer in Knollwood, which will connect to. When we go to the stormwater management, there's an underground Cultec system with the isolator row for water quality. And with the wide driveways, what we're doing is putting a 12-inch wide trench drain across the driveways to collect and convey the water to the stormwater system. And, then this will be discharged to the Town of Bethel system on Knollwood. We did get comments Friday, and I think we got David's staff report this afternoon. So I have not had time to address them, but obviously we'll continue the hearing so I can provide, a response to it. It is basically a fairly rugged site. I'd like to go to the cross section plan, because this kind of, gives you a better sense of, the slope. So this is going from reservoir on the left-hand side, through the middle of the site up to the top. And you can see that the units are basically stepped, coming in, and we're basically matching grade, just above Reservoir Road. There will be a low retaining wall between each unit, roughly about 4 feet in height, which will allow us to pitch away from the slab per the building code. And then the units will go up from there. This plan again was, developed after multiple layouts that I prepared, and then Michael Delorio met with Beth numerous times, to come up with this concept plan. Under the 8-30G, with 6 units, one will be 80, one will be 60, and there will be 4 market rate units.
Okay, is that it, Mr. Triggus?
Yeah, it's a fairly simple application, as I haven't had time to address the staff comments.
No comments as well.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yep. Any comments from the public here? Any questions, comments? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Murphy, 74 Reservoir Street. Mr. Trinkus, how far down?
Please comments to the commission,
Okay,
please. Thank you.
How far down is this blasting going to go? He's saying level with Reservoir Street? Is that?
No, it's not. It's not quite level with Reservoir Street. This section is on the left-hand side here is the grade just off Reservoir Street on our side. And then this is the unit. So each of these blocks is 4 foot. So the first, building to existing grade is about, it varies from about 3 foot cut, up to about a 10-foot cut. Again, stepping the unit up, the second one has a similar, it goes from about 8 foot to 14, give or take. And the third one up the hill, that's about a 12-foot cut on the low side and closer to 15 on the upper side. We looked at many scenarios and, of fitting these on the site, but with the slope that's there, this was the only one that really kind of worked. And we just do one ledge cut, on the southern end, to, create the area for the units.
Do we know how many loads are going to be in and out of?
I haven't calculated that, but I can.
I'm only asking because I kept hearing and talking to people that they have heard 650 loads, which is going to equate to about 1,300 trips up and down Reservoir Street.
Yeah, I have not provided that information, so
that's why I'm asking, because I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, so we will.
As far as the blasting, my daughter, who is here with me, she has a son who was born with a traumatic brain injury and is susceptible to seizures. We did some research and found out blasting can trigger seizures and actually make his TBI worse. I don't know about the new blasting he's talking about, how that would affect, because I have never seen that. The blasting I've dealt with was Toll Brothers, and they were chasing bowling ball sized rocks out into the road. And just so that officials couldn't see what they were doing. So I have questions on that, if that's something that could be looked into. I do know that hill very, very well. I grew up on that hill. It is a big rock. that whole property is a big rock. And, you may want to inform Mrs. Fernandez of what's going on, because her house is in a floodplain. And if you guys want to come over and walk that property with me one day, I'll show you how my family used to water the hayfield with the water that came off of that rock. My house doesn't get water because it's all channeled underground around the houses and around the barn. I can show you the cleanouts and how it all ends up down in Helen Fernandez's property, which is why she has to run 4 sump pumps, because he's already in a wetland. And I feel that blasting this out will actually make it worse for her. You know, not to mention my house is over 150 years old, still on the original foundation. So I would question the new type of blasting. I've never seen it, never heard of it. And it's not just with Reservoir Street. Those are my concerns with Reservoir Street. My concerns townwide, as I've stated, is safety and everything else. It's not just the town of Bethel that has a problem with the 830G program. The state needs to rework that somehow. Trumbull has actually put a moratorium on it, and the state's fighting them, and they've been successful in holding them off for 6 years. That's the most densely populated part of town. If you go from Danbury over to Judd Avenue on Route 58, go down as far as Hoyt Hills, over there, go down as far as Cherry Lane, and you go all the way over to the Danbury town line over here. This is the most densely populated area of town. And you're putting in behind Dr. Mike's, you're putting in another one on Taylor, the whole transit-oriented district mess down here. At what point does this town consider the infrastructure? We had a fire a week and a half ago. After the fire was out and they were still mopping up, they had a water main failure. They actually had to go find another water source to continue mopping up the fire and making sure there were no hot spots, which is a delay. What if that was a house with people trapped and they had a water supply issue? You got electric cars coming into town and we just keep building. What are we going to look like, Los Angeles, with rolling blackouts when our power grid goes down? You're going to have to double your police department size, which is another police station, double the size of your schools or build new ones, which you don't have room for. Consider a career fire department, which is going to require new buildings, new apparatus. I think that as elected officials, you need to start considering the people that are already in place in these high density areas. You know, my house been there 160 years. Same family. I just can't see putting 3 houses on that hill because I know what's there. And I looked online, his original drawings, and I'd like to know how far off of Reservoir Street is the corner of that first house. It looks like it'd be the back corner, which faces my property.
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to answer that now?
If you have an answer to that last question, please.
Yeah, I mean, off the property line, it's probably about 4 feet, and it's probably another 10 or so to the edge of the pavement. So roughly 14 feet. I can dimension that, but that's about what it would be off the edge of the road.
Okay, when Knollwood was built, that hill is sloped as far down as they could get it. They had to do that to put Knollwood in to get the sight line. They also tried to fix the hill that's just the other side of my house to get a better sight line. I think I'm the only driveway in maybe 75 that can see the bottom of that hill coming out. And I sit on my porch mornings, drinking my coffee, and I watch the clowns just go fly down that road. My concern would be coming out of Knollwood, if they can see past that house.
Mr. Murphy, are you talking about the driveway that encroaches on this property or the one that's
No,
on the
actually,
other side?
the way the houses are set, when I looked at his original map, it looks like the house is set like 6 feet off of the road, which would block view coming out of Norwood. Because there you can't see what's coming up over that hill.
But there is a driveway there. I assume it's your driveway that encroaches and that's got a turnaround and things like that.
Oh, yeah, that's my driveway. Yeah,
And it's on their property.
the turnaround's on his property, but my uncle put that there when we owned the property. Yeah,
So it's not that driveway you're talking about.
no, I'm talking about,
You said you're taking a left out of Knollwood here. I'm looking at this. Right up here to the top, and then you're worried about the sight line
the
of the edge
sight
of
line
this building,
there,
right here.
because that hill was cut down, so there was a sight line coming out of Norwood. Okay, if that's in any way blocked, they already can't see what's coming up over that hill, and it's posted 25. I'll be happy if the average speed on that road's 40. And that's, that's nobody's fault, but that's what it is. I almost got hit in front of 30 Reservoir Street on the way home tonight by a car completely on the wrong side of the road, passing another car. But if that's blocking a line of sight to come out of Norwood, that's a safety hazard.
Be sure to make sure we adjust those comments for you.
Thank you.
Do you have any other thing? Anything to add?
No, I think I'm good right now.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public here wish to speak about this or have any questions about this application? No one here in person? Anyone online, David?
I'm not seeing any hands raised, Mr. Kozlowski.
Thank you, David.
You're
We'll go to commission comments and questions. Start on there, Kenny.
Addressing some of the comments there, the 830G, we do not like it.
Hey, and I know you're not the only ones, but it's something that needs to, you got to get together with all the other towns and, and fight this until they fix it and make it right. And I'm not just picking on, it's contractors throughout the state, I feel, are abusing the system to get the most amount of people on the smallest amount of property they possibly can. And they're giving you the minimum, 30%.
It's the maximum.
That's the max. Well, maybe the
30%
maximum,
is the maximum under 830G. So
maybe the maximum needs, because in my opinion, that's, if there's a housing issue, maybe they need to fix that somehow.
it's the state of Connecticut. Call your state rep
Please, yeah.
and your state senator. They have nothing to do with that.
Well, maybe they need to call them and say, can we sit down?
It's not just us, though. I think with everyone who has concerns in the town and any of the towns.
And if you want to discuss what the town has tried to do over the years, please give the office a call.
Oh, yeah, I know
Okay.
what you tried to do, but I think that
And they
maybe,
have been part of that.
maybe all the towns should get together and fight this, not just one town, one or two towns. Because the system is
state.
flawed, and we all know.
It's all state, Mark. State reps, state senators. They're the ones who represent us in Hartford. We have to talk to them. They're the only ones that can change it.
Jeff, comments, questions?
Yeah, I have questions. So the driveways for these parcels, it looks, I'm having trouble seeing it, Mr. Trinkus, the driveways, they don't really show up too well.
Yeah,
Which
I think I can show you, Jeff, with the cursor on the north one from where my cursor is. It's just a straight shot out, really from either side of the unit, which is exactly how the driveways are for the two units they built on the east side of Knollwood. We
Okay.
basically mirrored it.
So almost the entire length of the driveway's out in the right of way.
Yeah, most of the driveway is within the right of way, correct? Yep.
I mean, and there's no garages on these buildings, right? So cars would be
No,
parked.
no, there are two. There's a garage. This is the garage for one unit. This is the garage for the second unit with the second parking space behind the garage. So there's two spaces for each unit, within two in the building and two in the driveway.
How deep those driveways from road edge to the.
I can't answer it offhand scaling on my PDF, but I can answer that, for the next day.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just don't know, like the public comment, if that's gonna create a side issue for taking on, traffic coming from the left on Reservoir while you're at Knollwood. And then, there was obviously a reason to create that area when they developed Knollwood, and now we're kind of taking it away by putting cars in there. So that seems like
The cars are in what's the shoulder now, they're not gonna be in the roadway at all. And
Right.
the parked car won't be, won't be impeding traffic on Knollwood itself at all.
it's about, first of all, I meant right away, sorry. And it's about the site distances. Obviously, they're not gonna be in the roadway, so.
Yeah.
Basically a parking lot in the town right away.
Diane?
I think the drainage issue with the blasting or whatever, how that's gonna affect things needs to be addressed. The man had said he lives close by. And the traffic on that road is crazy. So I just, having cars that close to the road, I think is gonna be a concern.
And the building.
From the building,
12 feet off. the
Right.
Edge of the
I
road.
mean, that was hard enough. There's a road going over towards, Brookfield that had a house that was like right on the edge. It's not there anymore now. I think they moved it or knocked it down or something. But that was scary.
Anything else, Diane?
No.
Bruce?
It seems to me the same conditions we had in the previous one with pre-blasting survey. Not on. Should be looked at for this site.
I'd agree too with that. And while we're doing, radiuses of houses, I'd like to see a map of the 250 feet or whatever we determine with you looking into that code there, Mr. Trinkus. I think that would help.
Yep, we can do that.
Mr. Legnard?
I'm okay with.
Okay.
No question.
I know we're still waiting on some engineering reports, so I'll leave it to staff here to make any
I
comments.
will, I know just to make a few comments, just for historical reference.
Please.
Because, I won't be here. And that is in regards to this and in regards to the property next door. Originally, there was, property, Mr. Murphy's familiar with, it was called, Partners, I believe, or something of that nature. It started with, which I think most of you know, is I commonly call a Super 8 motel with the 2 floors and the 2 stories, and it's right up against the road. I think it was maybe 14 to 15 units in the front and 23 in the back. And what ended up there was Mr. Giorio's project, which you see, I would suggest you go by. I do commend Mr. Giorio for the 2 families that he's put on the corner. They're highly attractive. Okay, so look at the opposite corner, because that's what would be going through. Secondly, in regards to this started out again as a Motel 8 with, I can't recall what the original amount of units are. Mr. Giorio could probably tell you. I think it was like 12 units. Maybe Steve, do you remember?
I was unaware of that, Beth, so.
Okay. So anyways, it went from that to, all right, how do we work a way to, limit the amount of excavation and fill that would have to occur on the property in order for them to do something along those lines. I look at most of the projects that come in here from an architectural point of view, how it relates to the neighborhood, what would look best for the neighborhood. I will admit to, this was an end result of us looking at things. It's not to influence you in any way. It's to let you know how I came to the decision that this was the best in regards to the neighborhood as far as architectural and appearance. Having a 2-family instead of a Motel 8, which is 4/4, 6/6s, and that's how that goes. As far as the slope cuts and things like that, it's my understanding, and I tried my best to find historical reference to this. It is the town's public right of way where that is occurred. When the original subdivision, back before I was out of high school, was put through and done, that was, the sloping there was included because they were concerned about the rock cuts that may occur. during the, construction of Millwood Drive itself. And that's why the town made that part of the, right of way. And it consistently still shows as a right of way. The property hasn't been determined to be any other piece. I will also say that the applicant approached the town, which you can see in, Mr. Swenson's note as far as purchasing that, so he could truly do a 3-lot subdivision, and that went south. And that's all I have for you.
All right.
Just,
So,
for the record, Neil Marcus, again, Mr. Murphy raises a lot of interesting issues. And interestingly enough, he's a strong proponent of regional planning. And I'm a strong proponent of regional planning. But the reason we have 8-30G is that the towns, you guys, small towns and cities where zoning, boards of education are so sacred to the fabric of an individual town that nobody really wants to do regional planning, because you don't want to have Danbury influence what Bethel's doing, or, you know, Reading influence what Bethel's doing, or vice versa. So a lot of his comments are good, and they're not new, but they really don't directly affect this, you know, 3-building, 6-unit proposal. And I would encourage, as somebody said, go talk to your state rep and your state senator. I encourage him to do the same thing, because this area could benefit from more regionalization in terms of our infrastructures, you know, police departments. Every little town has a police department. I don't know why, you know, years ago, Reading, Exmouth, Richfield, and Wilton talked about consolidating their police departments or consolidating their fire departments. That's all regional planning. And when it comes to housing, there is a huge, huge problem in the state right now. And quite honestly, the issues that have been raised as criticism of the town, I actually find the opposite. I think Bethel, with its transit-oriented district and a lot of the work that's going on downtown to make it a more vibrant town, have people walking around as they live here, is good. I mean, and to the extent that, you know, this is not quite in downtown, but it's certainly walkable distance to the downtown. I'd encourage you to continue along the lines that you're doing. But as I said, I think some of the questions that he raised, Steve will get you the answers on some of the specific questions. And other than that, I mean, as to the control of traffic on Reservoir Street, I drive Reservoir Street at least once, sometimes twice or 3 times every day, because that's my route home and my route to my office. And I agree. I mean, cars move quick through Reservoir Street, and traffic sometimes at rush hour backs up at the light down on the state highway, obviously, all the way back up Reservoir Street. And these 6 units are not going to really significantly impact that. So if, again, I hate to do this to Dan. Every time I open my mouth, it's another project for the Board of Selectmen. But if they've got to look at Reservoir Street, either as to speed control devices, I mean, these deadly speed bumps that we all love, that's a separate issue. And I encourage Mr. Murphy to bring that back to the Board of Selectmen or to the police department, because I agree with him. I mean, cars move many times way too fast on that street, and traffic control currently could be improved. But the question is, will 6 units make a difference or an impact? And the answer is probably not. It's too small. So we'll address, I assume we're going to continue this to the 13th?
Correct.
Yes.
We'll address your questions. But those are very good comments.
Yeah, we will be continuing. Please.
Scott Murphy, just looking at the map, I have one more question through the chair. Millwood underground power, the power comes off of Reservoir Street, and there's a pole somewhere right over in that area. On the town right away, and then the power goes underground. And I believe the town right away, right in that area.
Correct.
Do you know where that telephone pole is, and according to your maps and where the driveways are located, and where the power actually goes underground there?
Well, there's a transformer at the southern end of our site, right here, and that's where we're gonna come off with power. One of the poles, along, Knollwood is within one of the driveways. We will have to relocate that to the space between the driveways. But the power will come off the utilities here at the southern end. And that's shown on the utilities plan of the plan set.
If I remember correctly, from that pole, it goes underground to that transformer and then up into Knollwood and that whole mess up there. And just,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah, we're aware of that.
kind of an answer to the traffic situation. Reservoir Street's approximately a half mile long. There's 2 through streets and 5 dead end streets on that road. And I would invite Mr. Marcus to come with me and we'll walk Reservoir Street one day and tell me how
Not
you
me.
feel after that's done. Okay. When my grandkids get off the bus, if their mom's not home, they have to cross the street. And if the bus doesn't wait for them, that turns into a project. And like I said, my driveway and possibly 75 Reservoir Street, the only ones that have a clear line of sight to the bottom of that hill. And I'm sure you know the hill I'm talking about. And I almost can't see it until I'm almost at my driveway. And they did try to fix that. And if you look at my house, there's a set of steps coming up from the mailbox. It used to be 3 steps. They filled it in. I now have 2. And they tried to make that line of sight better, but they just can't. But there's already, and you say 6 houses, so that's 12 more cars until the kids grow up. Now, how many more cars is that? And they parking on Knollwood now, if you go up there, if you're down when you drive back and forth from your office, drive up Knollwood and look at how they park up there. It's great. Yes, it's only 6 houses, but it's a small piece of land that it's 3/4 of an acre, but it is zoned. I looked at the map. It is still zoned for R40, which is 1 family, 1 acre.
Understood. Thank you. We will be continuing this public hearing till our next scheduled meeting on May 13th here in the Municipal Center at 7 p.m. Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments. Yeah, can I make a motion to take a 5-minute break?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll take a 5-minute break. Thank you.
Recording has resumed.
Excellent. We're gonna move on. We're gonna continue our public, hearing tonight and open a public hearing for a text amendment, new text amendment for section 2 definitions beer garden. Section 4.3.e.10 beer garden criteria Route 6 zone. We're also gonna be discussing revising section 6.h.b service area landscaping and screening.
That's a legal notice, sir.
This one?
Legal notice.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Beth.
I have a legal notice that appeared the 11th and 18th, that the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on April 22nd, 2025, at meeting with G of the Municipal Center, 1 School Street, Bethel, Connecticut. 7, to hear the following new section 2, under section 2, new under definitions, the definition for a beer garden, section 4.3.E10, beer garden criteria for the Route 6 zone, revised section 6HB, service area landscaping and screening. The link is to review the materials can be found on the town website. Public can send comments via regular mail and email. Clear use. Parking is located near the building. Paul Shanley, Chairman.
Excellent.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead, Beth. Dive right into it.
So, we've had discussions, these are commission initiated regulations. We've had discussions in regards to beer garden as an accessory use to a principal use in the Route 6 zone. I'm hearing voices out there. Can somebody close that door for me? I'm sorry. I hear voices in my head anyways, but I just hear them. Okay. In regards to this regulation, there's a property owner out in the Route 6 area, specifically Palendia Nursery, was exploring residential uses associated with the property. He has 5 acres. He could get a certain amount of residential uses. He wants to maintain a commercial aspect of it. He also wants to incorporate it into his nursery. So we have talked about the idea of beer garden. In regards to beer garden to the rest of the Route 6 area, there's criteria involved. And the main criteria being that you have to have a minimum of 5 acres and it has to be in conjunction with an already established use on the property. There are 2 other properties where this could happen, or this could appear to pertain to. One would be where Dragonfly Restaurant is located now. They already have an outdoor area that they use for items of this nature. The other area would be across the street where Kruger Plumbing is. The Kruger family owns a very large, and it's a shopping, there's contractor's yard and things of that nature. That the criteria for this is more of a natural establishment versus something along those lines. So obviously that wouldn't work. The last piece would be the Yukon Center, where the farmer's market is, that has approximately 11 acres. But again, that is deed restricted and can only be used for farming and open space recreational uses. So that is in regards to the beer garden. The second part was in regards to under 6HB, service area and landscaping and screening. I did not go into a lot of detail. I'll read my report very briefly for the public because it's not in the drive. The enclosed amendment to the regulations pertaining to refuse containment is based on the last 35 years of review and comments by the Bethel Health Department, along with their expertise in this area, which consists of inspections, complaints, and remediation of health violations involving rodents, odors, and garbage abandonment throughout the town. All of the present commission members have become well educated through many pages of and thorough reports produced by the health department over the years. This is a simple change, making it a site plan requirement for the dimensional standard and construction components associated with the structure. In other words, by making this change or making some type of change, dealing with the enclosure of garbage and, the pad, the fencing, so on and so forth, that will not require a site plan review or a lot of the back and forth between applicants and the board. It is a regulation. You follow the regulation, and it doesn't go to the health department unless they want a waiver. And I'm sorry, I'm speaking very fast, but I know
No, we've
had a long night,
We've all been over this.
and I just want to give you some. I did it as a starting point with Michael's assistance, and I could have produced 30 pages of health department
No, there's plenty.
information, but I thought that at this point, even though some of you are a little newer, that
We're well educated.
you're well educated and able to make that type of decision.
Would you mind if I open it up to public comment?
Absolutely.
Does anyone in the public have anything to say about proposed changes we just talked about? Anyone online? Commission members, Mr. Leitnard, go with you first.
Okay.
Gentlemen, beer garden?
Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes,
I'm okay. Any questions, Janelle? Any comments? Diane?
I'm good with everything.
Cool. I see no issues with it. We've talked about this for a long time, putting some stuff to bed. So we'll take a quick consensus to
You can close the hearing and adopt it tonight if you want.
oh,
Is the written, written?
We'll use the verbiage within the legal notice in the written text itself
you need
in the
a,
application.
you need a motion to approve.
Close the public hearing.
Close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for the text amendment for planning and zoning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
You can add it to
Motion passes
later.
unanimously.
Just keep going.
Excellent. All right. We're gonna move into our business meeting. I'm gonna sit Jeff DeRosa for Kitty Grant. everyone had a chance to review the minutes for the last meeting? Any questions, comments? I will note for it, I left early, but I did, watch the video and catch up. I have a motion to accept the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yeah, abstain.
One abstention, Jeff? Motion passes. Any invoices? No. See any? None? Okay, we're gonna move into the work session for Kevin Cleary, 830 12 units, 105 Milwaukee Ave.
Can I make a motion to add the planning and zoning commission text amendment to the end of our work minutes agenda? Work session?
I'll second that and we'll put it behind
Yes.
upstream properties for the Sony Hub.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes. That's okay. Okay, I'm sorry. We were going into Kevin Cleary, 105 Milwaukee Ave, 830 12 units. We had a
I have drafts here.
draft
David did
approval.
the, draft approval for this. And as you can tell by looking at the draft of the resolution, David is very formal in regards to that versus some of mine.
Does anyone have any questions?
It was emailed, I believe, to you all.
Still on.
I have no question.
That's easiest to read this home.
What you do is,
Condition 1
yes,
through 12.
with the motion to approve is,
Yeah.
your motion, your draft is dated April 22nd, 25.
Yep.
And then just read the reasons.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve, affordable housing application 105 Milwaukee Ave. Assessors map 40, block 46, lot 030 to Mr. Trinket during their April 22nd, 2025 regular meeting. The Dunbar Planning and Zoning Commission voted to approve a site plan application for the following, as described in a memorandum to the commission from Trinket Engineering LLC dated November 12th, 2024, last revised February 7th, 2025. The site currently has a residential structure along with an existing driveway. The existing structure will remain. Currently, there is one 4-bedroom apartment in that existing house, which will be maintained. A new 1-bedroom unit will be placed above the existing garage. The garage area will be converted to living space. 2 new 2-story buildings containing 9 2-bedroom units under 830G of the Connecticut General Statutes. Sanitary sewer and public water line will serve the site from Milwaukee Ave. This approval for a real property now or formerly owned by Kevin Cleary is subject to the following conditions 1 through 12. Reason: the commission has carefully considered the application with regard to the project's location, density, architecture, and site design, and have determined that this affordable housing project will not imperil the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Sincerely, Paul Shanley, Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission Chair. CC Neil Marcus, phone number, please.
Second. We roll call vote. Mr. Legnard?
Aye.
Kenny?
what did you say?
Jeff?
Aye.
No, can we say why? Why are
No,
we making?
no.
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. The ayes have it.
We can't adjust this at all. Something's missing.
You want to bring something up? Well, the motion is passed, but What did you want to bring up?
I don't see anything in the police department here. I have everything else.
If you have a question in regards to the motion, address it to David.
David, I don't see anything addressing, you have, if they, outstanding review comments provided by whoever, on each of these, but you don't have the police department on
Yeah,
there.
Diane, if you wanted to make an amendment to the draft, that could have been done before the vote was taken. I would leave it to the chair if he wants to modify the motion that was made. If you want to add a condition, I'd be happy to have that in there.
Hey, David, just real, I'm sorry. I think I might see the issue. Condition 7 and 8, you listed Bethel Public Facilities Director twice with the same date. Is one of those supposed to be Bethel Police Department?
No, because those memorandums are addressed to two different parties, Mr. Chairman. One is to the commission and one is to the planning and zoning director.
I see.
Did you not do that for a particular reason or
I'm not due.
addressing the police department?
Oh, no, that was just an oversight, Diane. This is why we have 6 sets of eyes, i.e. you guys reviewing this to catch stuff that we miss. It was not intentional, I assure you.
All right, so you want to add condition 13? Which is the applicant shall address and comply with any outstanding review comments provided by the police department.
Yeah, do we have to have a date on the letter?
Do you have that date handy, Dave?
I will look it up as we speak, Mr. Chairman. I'm seeing a police commission letter in the file dated December 18th, 2024.
Yeah. What was it?
December 18th.
24. It's police department.
This is also. This is supposed to be in there. Must be part of approval.
It is. It's January 8th letter.
Okay.
Actually, you need to amend your motion to read number 13.
Make a motion to amend, our previous motion, of the draft approval to add amendment number 13. The applicant shall address, comply with any outstanding review comments provided by the Bethel Police Department, letter dated December 18th, 2024.
And I will second that. And we'll vote again by roll call. So Agnard?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you very much. And thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Right.
On behalf of, Steve Trinkus, to whom it's addressed, would be here but for his allergies.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, we will move back into the work session for Upstream Properties 2 LLC, 48 Stony Hill Road, amended site plan. Is there anyone here from? All right, this is Mr. Olson.
It's work session.
You,
Okay, you're, right now, it's your decision. They've done their presentation.
Yeah.
And, I'll remind the board that at your last meeting, you had a 3-3 tie. The tie is not an approval. It's done. So you requested to, go over it one more time at this meeting and come try again. I would remind the board and the applicant that we do have 6 members here. I believe, is it 6? I'm looking at,
Plus Mr. Legler. We have 7.
we have 7.
Seven.
Perfect.
That's good.
That's why I'm looking at Casey. Casey doesn't know, but Amanda always used to keep me in line with my numbers. So you have 7 members. All right, so you have a full board with an alternate seating, correct? Okay.
Yes.
I leave it to you all.
Anybody want to start?
I will.
Comments? Go ahead, Kenny.
I consider it reasonable. I didn't think it was a major change. I went over there to take another look, and the buildings over at Copper Square, even with their roof line, they're 4 stories tall. So it's not like it's a big deal.
I was not originally involved with the original approval of this that was done in, I think it was 2022, spring 2022. I went back and watched a couple of the planning and zoning videos just to kind of see if, I know a couple of members that were here last time mentioned they might have talked about the height of that particular building. We're 100% sure on it. I did listen to it. It was brought up specifically that building just because the parking was not located behind, and there was great arguments made on both sides as far as, you know, why the building was there. It's going to protect the parking and the lights that might have been going into the units behind. But the 4-story part was brought up, and specifically a few times in the 2/8/22 meeting, about an hour and 20 minutes in, Mitch Heller called out that it was a 4-story building. He was very concerned about it. To which then about approximately 10 minutes later, Attorney Olson refuted that and said that it was actually only a 3-story building. So there was this conversation that was going back and forth about the concern from 4 stories. That was in the end. It went to the 3/22 meeting. Again, the president of Copper Square came up and specifically talked about the 400 block units that are in Copper Square. And at the time, the building was asked to be moved forward due to the fire marshal. There was no clear way of that, decisive way of that how they were going to move that forward. But Attorney Olson did at 1 hour, 45 minutes in, said they would be moving the building. Prior to that, I apologize. The president of Copper Square did say, fortunately, this is not a 4-story building. Otherwise, it would have been worse. So I wasn't involved with those things, but for me, it just seems like we had a 3-story building that was already being contested by our neighbors. To go to 4 stories, I think it's just not fair to them, and I'm going to maintain my position from the last time.
I also went to the property. I took some pictures of it and noticed that the foundation is actually a little higher than the foundation that is for the Copper Square building. So even though they say 4 is not that much more, it's going to be more because even 3 is going to make it pretty high compared to the other building. There's not much space in between the 2 buildings. And I think that's a big concern. And there's some trees there, but you know, it's just, and I think that there are other options that you can do. I think you could easily have, like School had mentioned the last time, one of the buildings could be apartments and the other one could be commercial. And if you put that, the apartment building, you know, 8 apartment buildings, and you do a nice building with, you know, a front porch or something like that, you can easily have that over in that same area. So you keep everybody with all the neighbors together with the parking together, and then the other side would be commercial. And so I think there are other options, and I don't think that it should infringe on the neighbors to have a 4th floor. So I would also maintain my same position. And I don't think it has to, and I also spoke with, for Pete's sake, across the street, and they have 2 apartments above them. They've had somebody there for 30 years and they have not had any complaints between them, them for the neighbor or the neighbor for them. And then there's another apartment there, and nobody has been complaining I know that you said people didn't want to be there if they had somebody above them or whatever. So I do think that there are other options, and I don't think it needs to be adding the fourth floor.
Jeff, do you have anything?
I didn't, unfortunately, I missed the past couple meetings, so I'm really not quite up to speed.
Okay.
Like I would like to be.
Mr. Legnar?
See photos.
Okay, I have several comments. I think we looked at this several weeks ago as a pre-meeting to see what needed to be done, what could be done to develop the commercial area out in front of this development. And that was greeted quite favorably, I thought, at that meeting. And then we come to, have a meeting to discuss it after they applied for a adjustment to their plan. And we run into this buzzsaw type operation that says we're not going to approve it. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right to give them, a favorable thing to go forward with it and then come around and in the end try and deny it based on 3 stories to 4 stories, because it meets the regulations as they were in place right then, as Peter said in his presentation. It meets the regulations, and it solves our problem of keeping the commercial property out front along the roadway. And I don't think it's a good option to make one of those buildings into, apartments and the other one into commercial. I think this is a viable solution to put a 4th story on that building. And it's not in the regulations that, one property to the other, you can't have a building taller in one property than it is in the next property. There's nothing in the regulations that says that. You could have somebody that wants to build a raised ranch and somebody wants to build a 2.5 story house next to it. You can't say you can only build ranches. That's a denial of the guy's rights to use his property without having a good justification within the regulations. So I think this is good planning. It's meeting. We dug our heels in and said we have to have the commercial facing the roadway, and that's what we're getting. And we asked them to, try and do that, and they made attempts to do that. They didn't say no, we're not going to do that. They made attempts to do it. They made attempts to rent that property, according to, if you believe, the presentation that we had. There was a viable attempt to put residential above commercial. And they're coming back to us and saying, that's not going to work for us. That's not a good plan. That's not something that's going to work in the future. So I'm still in favor of putting the 4th story over there and making it work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Legnar. Stroll?
As a record shows, I was the abstaining vote last time. And if a vote is taken tonight, my vote will be no.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I had to leave early last meeting, so I wasn't able to give you my thoughts on it. And I have a few thoughts. I've been thinking deeply into this. I was on the board when this is approved. I was on the board when the SHMUAD was removed. There is no dedicated parking for the commercial. It's shared parking. I believe when you guys were here about a month ago, someone said you were short on parking already. I made the suggestion, backing up, I see 3 main problems. We're short on parking. You can't rent. You're having trouble renting the commercial, and no one wants to live above the commercial. We can solve 2 of those by removing those 8 units just completely. It keeps the neighbors happy. You're not increasing the size of that building to 4 stories. It gives you some parking back, which would alleviate a few parking spots, which could be used for those commercial properties up towards the front. The drawings you guys made of the front buildings without the apartments on top look great. I think you should probably rent them for more than you could now with apartments on top. I think as a commission, we would be willing, at least I would suggest, to keep the ratios the same, drop 2 of the affordable units and 6 full price units. I wouldn't, that still keeps you out where you need to go. I think that's the most clear example, or clear way in my mind to get this done. I would not be in favor of adding a 4th story because, again, I was on the commission when this was talked about originally. There was concerns on the 4th story on that one building being so close to Copper Square. The other building is pulled away. There's a driveway in the back. The other 2 buildings abut Mountain Laurel Plaza. So there wasn't as big a concern about the neighbors on that side. There was still concern about the neighbors going to Copper Square on the 4-story building. But again, you had a roadway back there with parking spaces on both sides. I don't know the exact footages, but it was pulled away. And we did talk about that a lot, and I'm glad you brought up the time marks on that. So as proposed now, I would not be in favor of it. And Mr. Legnard, not to refute you, but I'm echoing the same comments I made, not last meeting again, I had to leave early, I'm sorry, the meeting before that. So I don't, me personally, I hope I didn't give you guys the idea. I want to see your project succeed. I don't want to see empty storefronts, but not at the expense of putting a 4th story on that building that we discussed so long about not putting a 4th story on.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
With the 4th story back a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
The zone allowed 4 stories then.
At the time, yeah,
At
4th
the time,
stories was allowed.
So they moved it to 3 stories based on our comments.
Yes.
They didn't have to back then.
No.
They could have pushed for 4.
Yep.
In the commercial like they're proposing now.
Mhm.
But now they can't do it now because we changed the zone.
Yeah, we kept the building was moved further back.
The underlining zone still stays. We did remove that smooth, or however you say it.
Yeah, no, but what he's saying is back then there was 4 stories allowed.
Understand.
Correct.
We've since.
What
moved
Mr.
that.
Legnard's point earlier of saying that 4 stories is in the zone, as Mr. Olson said last time, is legally still, it's an underlying condition. It's a non-conforming site now.
Yeah.
But it is part of that site.
We're playing by the rules from.
Correct.
I think what you're trying to become clear on is that at the time of the approval of the site plan, there was an allowance for 4 stories. And at that time, the commission decided in this particular building's instance, no, they went with 3 stories instead of the 4.
But we couldn't deny them back then if they chose to keep that as 4 stories because
Yeah,
it was
you
under
could.
the regulation.
You could, because it was in the regulations. If you did not like the site plan as they proposed, you could you could have denied the site plan.
We don't generally deny things that are abiding by the regulations,
But if you have cause for doing it, yes, you do.
I
like the
remember-
neighbors being blocked. Was that like a cause?
If
The
it went
main
to
cause, if
that-
I remember, I'm sorry, it
That's
was
okay.
to move the building back was to get more parking. Because there was a,
For the commercial.
no, for the whole project. I distinctly remember there was 3 spots in the back corner of the building 2. I think it was that building 2 is the L-shaped one.
Mhm.
And I fought hard for these 3 little spots because I was convinced there was not enough parking. And they stated it, 2 meetings ago that they're having a shortage of parking already. And that was another reason that building was back further, was to get the bigger parking lot in the front. So the building was back further, closer to Copper Square.
And in exchange, they made it 3 stories.
Exactly.
You don't think it had anything to do with the height of the foundation?
I don't think we ever discussed anything about the height of the foundation.
And wasn't it last year that they came before us and asked if they could make that front area all,
Storage
Storage
units,
area.
yeah.
they didn't ask at that time to have apartments moved to the 4th floor.
It was to convert
Right,
the
and we said
commercial
no.
to to storage
Right,
units.
and we said no.
Correct, yeah. Okay. All right, so,
Paul,
yes, sir.
one more thing.
Go ahead.
Thing is the the new plan meets the regulations that it states. And it doesn't affect, it doesn't create any more units than would be there if you put them over the stores. So you're not adding density to it or anything. You're coming up with a plan that's going to work for everybody involved better than if you do it the way the site plan is approved. And again, what's going to happen down the road here? If we don't approve it the way it's been presented to us, they could build it as is in the plan right now, and have it be a disaster as far as trying to rent upstairs, downstairs, whether it's the commercial or the residential. But if you put the 8 units over on the 4th floor, they have a better shot at renting the commercial. They have a better shot at renting the residential upstairs. And that to me is a positive.
I would agree, but
You come up with all these other negatives about parking has nothing to do with it right now.
I mean, the applicant came in and stated that they had a Japanese restaurant that backed out because there wasn't enough parking. So they have an opportunity here to increase some parking and get desirable commercial space with the trade-off of losing 2 affordable units and 6 full-price units. So that's just, again, I'm looking at it as there's 3 main problems. We can solve 2 of them by just not move, because if you move those units to the top of that other building, you still now have a parking issue.
You're telling them to get rid of 8 residential units?
No, they're deciding.
No.
Well,
you're-
that's my suggestion.
Your suggestion.
That's my suggestion. That's my
I'm sure they
suggestion.
have an economic plan on this thing where they can't just tax 8 units and still make the money they want to make.
They could still.
I'm not looking over that.
Yeah.
But does their economic plan include the commercial space being empty?
Yeah, but
Because now if
everything
you,
is
if
still
you
the
have a
same. You still have the
premium
same number of
place,
units, the same number of commercial, the same number of parking,
which
you know,
they,
which we
again,
approved,
I
which we
thought-
approved.
we did approve. And then the schmood was almost immediately removed.
Once people saw. the
Once
full
we-
story.
No, once, in my reason was the parking, the shortage of parking. They came to us with the schmood. We didn't design it. The applicant did.
Mhm.
And asked to have it put in our books, which we agreed. We thought, it looked great on paper.
Yeah.
Then the application comes in and we see it in real life. And you're kind of, you know, have to approve it. You're almost at the crematorium situation then, where you have to kind of work with them together. And we worked what we thought was a great plan. And I still think it's a good plan. They're coming in now for asking for a change. And I'm just suggesting that the change they've proposed, I will not be in favor of. I'm giving an option that I think would work better, in my opinion. And it's my opinion.
They're never gonna get rid of the units.
No,
It's
they
not
can't
gonna
do
work.
Well, you want to put it to a vote? That's where we're at, Paul. I'll make a motion.
Did we ever check, Paul?
Go ahead.
Do we ever check with Chuck Andrews to see what our legal rights are here? If this thing wound up in court, where it would go?
I have not, no.
No, Bob, this is an amendment to a site plan. This isn't an amendment to the special permit. It is a site plan amendment.
But if you do the amendment, if we deny the amendment, we have to have legitimate reasons for denying it, I believe.
Okay, my request would be the following. The commission, whatever, why don't you come to a consensus, Mr. Chairman, and we'll go from there.
All right, I'll ask for a consensus.
Wait, hold on. Didn't we use the word consensus last time?
Yeah.
And it was, and the motion failed. So now you have 7 members present. I'm asking for you to come to a consensus so then staff can take care of whatever your consensus is by writing a motion for it.
Understood.
You understand what I mean? Do you have a yes, give me
All
a
right, I'm gonna ask
majority
for-
vote,
ask
one
for a
way or the other,
consensus.
and we'll take care
I'm
of it.
gonna ask the board for a consensus on their feelings, on approving or denying their amended site plan. And I'll start with you, Mr. Legnar.
I vote to approve the site plan as presented to us.
Kenny?
Yes, approve it.
Yes, prove it.
Diane?
No, deny it.
No.
Mike is a no. Screw?
No.
And I am a no.
Okay, so the consensus of the commission is to deny the amendment to the site plan, correct?
Yes.
All right. What I will do is I will have a resolution based on your comments, that you have made regarding this pertaining to the original site plan and some of the references that Mike has made pertaining to the public hearing process during that time and the comments made, the reasoning behind building 3. And David will present it to you at the next meeting.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move into our, added, thing, which was the planning and zoning commission text amendments for new section 2 definitions of beer garden, section 4.3.e.10, beer garden criteria route 6 zone, and also the revised section 6.h.b service area landscaping and screening. Do we have
Okay, so
a
what-
motion to this or discuss it? What do you want to do?
If you want to approve it,
I think it's supposed to go.
What are we using as a calculator?
I don't know.
Had some calculations for the screening
The neighbors.
in your.
Okay,
Sure, that's fine.
if they want to waive it, they do that. So what you would do is do a motion to approve the regulation. Because it meets meets the standard set in the plan of conservation and development and the comprehensive zoning. You writing this down? Because they're just gonna,
We're gonna just make a motion, what she just said.
that's what they're gonna say. It meets the requirements of comprehensive zoning and the zoning regulations of the town of Bethel. We'll clean that up tomorrow with an effective date of May 15th. We do,
I make the motion for everything she just said.
Second.
Do a roll call vote. Mr. Legnar?
Aye.
Ken?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Mike? Screw?
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously, and that's covered both the beer garden and the service area. All right, we're gonna set, new business, TD and Son subdivision, 19 and 23 Payne Road. We have set public, you're right to accept it. I am recused from this application, another DRO application. So, Mike, you want to, set the date for that, set the date?
Yeah, so we're gonna set a date for public hearing, of May 27th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, and I'll second it.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any
So it's
noes?
not an 8:30 G.
Any abstentions?
no,
Not me.
Abstained, or refused,
What's the date again?
May 27th, 2025. Planners report.
I have 2 things to go over.
Okay.
One is, to remind the chair that, I'd like to see if you would be willing to add, election of officers to the agenda for your vice chair position.
Okay.
For Mike Kozlowski to continue on as vice chair. Kitty has, removed herself from that position and, checking the minutes, she never did it formally.
Okay, so, make a motion to add election of officers to our agenda tonight.
'em. 2nd.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Extensions? Motion passes. I'll make a motion for Mike Kozlowski to be the vice chairman of the planning and zoning board.
Second.
Could I suggest you include Judy Grant as secretary?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor of Mike, the vice chair?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I'll make a motion to make Kitty Grant the secretary of the planning and zoning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The other item I have is pertaining to the zoning enforcement officer, and I don't know which I think I'll do that first, and I think you kind of know why I'm doing it. The Planning and Zoning Commission is responsible for the zoning enforcement officer appointment. State statutes pertaining to that position changed about 1.5 years ago. They have to have the Casio certification. David is the only one that has a Casio certification within the department. I let mine lapse because I knew that I would be retiring. He's fully certified and he has been signing off, meaning if we ever have to go to court, David is the one that would represent the town of Bethel. So I would like you to reappoint him as the zoning enforcement official.
I will make a motion to make David McCollum the zoning enforcer.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Calling on my neighbors.
Do you have anything else for planners report?
I do. I would like you all to know that this will be my last meeting as the planning and zoning director of the town of Bethel. I expected Dan to be here, but I thought it was important to inform you all that it's been a pleasure working with all of you and everyone else that I worked with over the last 24 years, including a lot of residents here in town. I look forward to my retirement. I can't wait. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm always around if you ever have any questions or need anything of any historical nature, because there's not many of us left that do have that niche for things. And the town of Bethel is hiring a planning firm. I'll spell the name because I don't know how to say it. TYCHE out of Vernon, Connecticut. And they will be having someone that we'll be having a meeting with them on the 28th of April, that my team and people from their firm and Dan, of course, to go over what their actual duties are going to be. But the main duty is going to be working with the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Land Use Commissions, doing reports, things of that nature. And I believe they will be doing planning meetings, pre-applications, things along those lines too. But when that's ironed out, I'm sure the chair will keep you informed and let you know what's going on with that. I just want to take a moment to say, my Amanda isn't here. I'll take care of her. Don't worry about that. I'll probably hang in there for 2 weeks to just clean up the office and clean up my files and things like that. And I will tell you that you're in very good hands with David as far as meticulous and thoroughness that he does, where I am totally opposite and speaks directly and off the cuff and in shorter sentences and with, as you all used to say, people used to say, the mother look. When you do something that's really off the wall, you get the mother look. But it's been a pleasure working with all you guys. I care about you all very much. You're a family. You act like a family, and that's what Bethel's all about, is family.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service over all these years. And,
That's all I have.
all right. Commission comments. Mr. Legnard.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
The public hearing with the guy on 74 Reservoir, he brought up the 830G.
Yeah.
And what other towns are doing, or what he thought other towns are doing.
Yeah.
You know, I just wonder if there's any options for us, and I'd like to understand the consequences for maybe not doing what the state wants you to do. So, I don't know. It's just food for thought. I'm trying to eliminate, if there's other options to eliminate 830G.
There are no other options to eliminate 830G.
Well, how does the town just deny it and do they get sued immediately?
Yes.
When they deny it?
And you spend about 5 years in court,
How much does that cost the town?
about $150,000 to $200,000.
How much does it cost the town to put 22 units in and put those kids to school and and do all that.
If you spend that money and still lose though.
It's been happening for 5 years. Applicant needs to spend money, maybe they go away.
And they do. And that's what, that, when they, when.
Just out playing our ball, everybody realizes maybe this
When it
is the
gets-
right town.
Jeff, we're so close. Like,
No, but Jeff brings up a good point. Sometimes you have to drive them to court in order to come down, to get them to the point where they'll start talking about, well, we'll reduce the units and things like that.
Yeah, everybody's just.
And that's
doing
what we
whatever the
do.
heck they want. And obviously the public's upset about it. You know,
Yeah.
this guy's, it's not one person, you know, everybody feels.
Oh,
it.
and we all
Oh,
feel the same way.
Agree wholeheartedly.
When we did meet, I'll be very honest with you, because this is, when I knew the numbers were reaching the moratorium, we're so close. We are so close.
Mhm.
I've been working on that for 24 years. That's what I wanted to end my career with,
Mhm.
with getting the town of Bethel a lousy 4-year moratorium. That's how I wanted to end, and it didn't work. And it kills me. But that's-
The trouble is you're chasing your tail on the 830Gs because you put in 2 or 3 830Gs, put in 10 full price units, you didn't gain anything.
Right.
It's rigged.
I'll give you some of the court cases. I forget how many we've gone to court with. So you can look at, where these people are, where these judges are coming with their decisions. It's very discouraging.
It's discouraging to both parties.
Yes. It's very discouraging. All right, Debbie Downer.
Diane, you got it?
I wanted to thank you for all your years. And it's like having someone who knows things that can help us. And we really appreciate your support. I mean, just all the knowledge and the background.
I live here too, so I didn't go in anywhere.
I know. As far as the 8-30G and the whole, I went to a conference last week, for different ideas of dealing with things, and they had, not Danbury, they had, Norwalk there and Stamford, and they don't have to meet 8-30G, and neither does Danbury, because they're big cities. So it's the small towns that are affected by this the most. And
That's what it's designed for.
yeah, and then there's a newest bill that somebody put forth in Hartford that they want the town to have to pay for the applicant if they go to court and they lose, and the town loses or whatever. So basically, they're not on our side. So we need to have people, I'm just telling the public, they need to let people know. And they need to be loud about it. So, because the small towns are getting the bum deal. Anyway,
When you have sewer and water,
yeah,
that's the
like
kicker.
Fairfield doesn't get. hit with it.
Sewer and water is what
Yeah.
drives it.
and we're gotta keep an eye on that. The numbers.
Yeah, I just echo Diane. Thank you, Beth. Both as a member of this board for about 1.5 years, I've always appreciated your willingness to take a phone call or come into the office, and then also in my day job and come in with crazy ideas and want to buy it. It's always been refreshing, and I look forward to continuing to do that.
Thank you.
Scroll.
Two things,
You don't-
Yes, it's your last day.
not to be monotonous, but thank
It's the Cavagna rule. We're coming up on it. soon.
Yeah, we are, real close.
So thank you. I appreciate all your advice and counsel that I received personally from you. Not related to this, but I missed the meeting, although I did watch it, on the TOD. What is the next step on that? A vote was taken, a decision was reached. What happens now? When does this get
So
crystallized?
that was, put on the back burner a little bit by my instruction. Because getting this Tai Chi, on board has taken much longer than anticipated. I had reached out to, Chuck Anders, our land use attorney, about getting the ball rolling on this, and really it hinges on getting this planning department, in place. So now that they're gonna be in place, the introductory phone call is next week, I believe.
It's the 28th,
Yeah.
yes. And they will be handling it, not Chuck.
They have, yeah,
Chuck and I discussed
and-
it and, let them handle it.
yeah, they have to handle it. Chuck is gonna be, making sure it's done by the book the whole way along. But just to be clear, there was no decisions made other than asking staff to start working on a proposed amendment. No different than we did for the dumpster and beer garden today. There will be a proposal, there will be a public hearing, public will be invited to speak. We can tweak it, just like we could anything else if we wanted. The commission will work on it, and then we'll vote, and if it passes, it'll take effect. That was, just to be clear, that was the vote that was taken. No vote was, because there was confusion back when that happened, about if there was an actual action taken or how that went. That answer your question? Yep. Perfect.
Thank you.
And then I will just wrap up commission comments with also thanking Beth. I did already, but everyone else did, so I'm gonna thank you, Ben.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
one more comment from me.
Go ahead, Mr. Leonard.
I remember Beth when she was in high school. She's come a long way. She's done a good job. She meets the criteria of what a public servant should be. Leave it better than you found it. She has left Bethel better than she found it. And she was commended for that, and she should enjoy her retirement.
I agree. I agree.
Good job.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're good at that. Back to what I was, I did want to have, on a serious note, though, I do,
You got
echo Jeff's comment about the 830G and the frustration with it. And sometimes you feel a little helpless because Hartford's gonna do what Hartford's gonna do. And, that's part of the reason I want to see significant changes done to TOD. Because we already have 830G that developers are using to exploit the town for enhanced density, if you will. I don't think they should be given, we should encourage another use that we have the power to reel in.
Yeah, but we can make we have control over those, the ones that come in the TOD.
You
We
think
have-
we do, but then when you deny it, you end up in court again.
I think deny any applicant you can enter.
And then they just come back with an
I think it's
830G.
one bad
anyway.
experience.
So anyways, that's just my feeling on that.
Yeah.
So I share your sentiments. So with that, we'll open it up for public input. Sir,
Okay.
waiting 2.5 hours.
My name is Bill Halloran, 60 Great Hill Drive. I'm the president of the Summit Master Association and the Summit Regency Homeowners Association. I'm here to ask a question and learn a little bit. About 2 months ago, I sent a request for documentation to the board, talked to Beth and David about it. We're in the midst of protracted negotiations with Toll Brothers. They it's called the Twins. We're negotiating with them over the Summit's closure, and I met with Beth when I discovered that they had town had an engineer. We discussed the possibility of the town at that point using the town's engineer to examine the roads, look at some of the that had not been finished at that time, look at the sidewalks that had not been finally poured at that time. Beth told me that I would not be making inspections like that, but they count on the developer providing documentation that they have finished the project successfully. On January of 22, we sent our engineers report to Toll Brothers. It's called the Transition Evaluation Report. We spent tens of thousands of dollars on engineers and tens of thousands of dollars on legal documentation negotiating with Toll Brothers. We're still in that process, not getting very far at all. What I did discover was that this board approved what you called the closing investing of the project back in May of 2019. So what I've requested, and it was 2 months ago, was a copy of that memorandum. I also asked for copies of the bonding that was held for Toll Brothers and the release of those bonds and any rationales for those releases. We do not know if we're going to end up in court with Toll Brothers or not. It's extraordinarily expensive to do that, and they well know that, and they're holding that over our heads. However, if you released that project to them, considered it closed, there must have been a rationale for that. And what I asked for was a copy of that letter, that memorandum that said they completed that project. There must be details in that memorandum. I don't want to see what those details were. That would be very useful to us. What I don't understand is what a site plan means when you approve site plans. I learned a lot sitting here tonight. I spent a lot of time going over old minutes of the meetings, some old videos and all. Some of our problems are the site plans have not been followed by Toll. We have significant missing pieces that were never completed. Toll is not doing it, have not done them. We thought that the site plans were something that was required to be completed. Apparently Toll did not view it that way. I'm not sure what the town feels about that and what they think their responsibility is to see that the site plan is followed. There are missing fences, thousands of linear feet of missing fences. There's a missing retaining wall that's causing our tennis court to fail prematurely. It was never installed. There's any number of different things going on. It's all part of our negotiation. We need the documentation from the town that says what the town relationship with Toll was when they closed this project. If Toll presented engineered reports saying we did this particular work, we need a copy of them. If they didn't, if the town just said, fine, you're done, I don't understand how you do that, but I need to see that also. If somebody has failed to properly close this project.
Okay. So
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to Mr. O'Halloran's comment?
1 second. I think actually what I was gonna say was, we have a new zoning enforcer. No, I'm not trying to make light of it. It's a serious issue.
Let David answer.
Yeah, David.
David, make a comment.
Mr. Chairman, if I may direct Mr. O'Halloran directly.
Yeah, sure.
Bill, I apologize for not having gotten back to you sooner. Beth has given Paul a good portion of the materials that we believe that you're looking for. I did not have the opportunity to get that sent to you before tonight's meeting, but I have all the files compiled that I believe are of interest to you, and I will get those sent over to you tomorrow. I hope those will address some of the comments that you've raised before the commission tonight, and if not, we will continue to look for the documents that you are questioning about, so that you can resolve your issues with Toll.
You have the specific document from the meeting of May 14th, 2019, that memorandum.
So I have a letter from Paul Bertie, Fusion Engineering PC, dated February 4th, 2019, and that's addressed to Toll Brothers.
Okay, let me just put this in simpler form. There a copy of the minute says it references the document. The document is a series of documents. It is as-built surveys. It is engineered sign-offs on the basin, the things of that nature. There's as-built for sewer and water, as-built for the roads, things of that. And that would be the vesting of the project being completed. So that information should be sent to Mr. O'Halloran.
Well, if you kind of provide me as-built drawings of sewer,
Okay,
water,
okay, yeah,
detention, those kind of things.
okay. That's the project.
So you don't
And
care
that
about,
was,
so that doesn't include the actual requirements on the site plan. The site plan is a large
no,
document.
it's not, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It just means that the work has been completed.
What?
It means the work has been completed.
Properly.
That's what it means, properly.
So if you
Yeah.
require 5,000 linear feet of chain link safety fencing on the town approved site plan, and it was not installed,
You're talking about perimeter fencing of the project,
it's not only perimeter, sure.
but the majority of it is perimeter fencing of the project.
We're not saying the majority of it. Let's say about half
Well,
of it.
I'm not gonna sit
About
here and
half.
argue with you, Bill.
Some of it's interior, about half of it's interior fencing.
I know that there was a portion that you brought to my attention that I felt was on the drawing and it wasn't completed.
The entire interior wooded area around the rock face walls where the dam brands are going down, that was all supposed to be.
Can I
changed.
just have a
I mean, but that's
question?
individual piece parts, right?
Just a question, just to make sure I'm understanding, what you're saying is that the site plan that was presented and approved was not completed as presented and approved. But then the applicant submitted that it was. Is that my understanding that? Beth?
There were
And then
several, during the course of development, I can't address individual instances, but I'm sure that you were able to research the minutes too and see where amendments were made.
I know, I also mentioned I asked for more of that because there's a large number of minutes missing.
There, well, that I can't help you with.
I know.
That's not our duty. When the site plan amendments are made, for example, I recall early on in the toll, we did a site plan amendment. It was pertaining to where the two water tanks or whatever they are. We changed the location of the road based on fire marshal. We changed, we tried to save some of the trees associated with so the people on plum trees wouldn't do it. We did a site plan amendment. It was, and a lot of times that in particular instance, it was brought to the board and the board approved it. There were times that you do, there are incidentals with projects that you make the changes in the field. Incidentals, not major events. But during the course of development, during the course of actual development, yes, there were site plan amendments that were changed, and a lot of them had to do with grading and things of that nature, because the amount of blasting that was on the property. And the last
But
one we dealt, and the last
we
one,
don't see the documentation for that. I mean, someone's responsible for the problem of the missing safety fence. It's a significant issue.
Mr. Chairman.
I don't know if,
I would
I
say-
don't know if this is something
I would.
us as a board can help. It's more help you with. This is more something that staff would have to help you with, and the zoning. And I know we're making a joke in light of David in his continued role, but I think that's more of something that they can handle. I would invite you to come down. I mean, David said he has some paperwork for you. Yeah, follow up with
It's been
him.
helpful.
Yeah.
And Jeff has been helpful too. But
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want you to, I don't get the impression that, paperwork's trying to be withheld from you.
No, Bill knows that.
Yeah.
I know, I do know.
Yeah.
Bill's a
It's
good.
always
I just-
disappointing.
I've known Bill.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
That's
that.
in high school, but we'll laugh.
A little
Right after high school.
I understand that, and I appreciate your concern. I do. I just don't know from where we sit up here.
This liability is I'm very concerned about. I mean, that's safety fencing that Toll did not install.
Yeah.
And they're trying to say they're not responsible for it. And that's liability that somebody is responsible for.
Have you brought this up to the first selectman?
I have.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I just don't know how else us personally.
Well, is the site plan something more than, gee, it would be nice if you did this?
There's amendments to the site plan. That's
There were
what
no
Beth was
amendments
trying.
to these
at least certain
And pertaining
issues.
to the fencing, I would say there was no amendments to that.
There's no amendments. I
There's
mean,
no
Paul
amendments.
says they don't exist. Paul's not claiming they don't exist. They're just saying.
Yeah.
So,
I
Well-
and I can understand your frustration and I just,
and we were hoping to get some support from the town, and it does not seem to be. But if they had, again, if they had engineers said, we have completed as per the site plan,
Mhm.
that would be wonderful. And if you can show me an engineer that said, a toll employed engineer that said, we completed this project as per the site plan, I would go running with that. And they
And
said, we did the sewers as built.
Yeah.
We did the drainage as built, which by the way, I've already told you that did not complete that as built. That is an incomplete as because I've added to it.
I think you should start with David, see what he's got.
Yeah.
And then go from
But
there.
I waited 2 months, you know. and-
Yeah.
That's a start anyway.
Okay.
Beth, what is the process once
We-
something is finished? To go to CO, do they have to look at the plans and have somebody from the town?
usually what we do is take a single family house, okay, as an example. You do a single family house, we get an as-built survey, A2 survey, showing locations, the roads and drainage and sewer and water and things like that. You also get a certification from the engineer pertaining to the drainage system. The engineer, I'm not aware of the engineer signing off saying that the project has been completed. The engineer specifically deals with the installation of drainage and things of that nature.
They haven't turned over the whole drainage system to us. They plan to have it completed. They haven't.
I've got a letter saying it all,
HRP
he
is
inspected
still
all
working
3
on it.
basins and it was completed.
They say, well,
And that's what I look for, so we look for that. You have to understand also too, some of the frustration is the town has not had a town engineer for many, many, many years.
Okay,
Town hasn't had a town engineer
I understand.
for many, many years. That's all I got.
But you did sign off on the project when they still had more than 100 units. to build.
was it phased?
Yeah.
So say it's
No,
like,
I didn't call it
Plan
phasing.
two. Okay, I'm not gonna argue.
I'm ready to, again, follow
Well,
with David
I-
tomorrow and,
Later in the week, David, I'm sorry, David is just.
Yep.
Bombarded.
David's been very helpful. I don't mean. to-
David is
yeah,
very,
no, I can sense that.
Bill is frustrated and I understand.
I get that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sure. Thank you.
And thank
Throwing it on.
you for your service. I know you've worked extremely hard for now.
Bill, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
With that, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Um,
All right.
Thank you.